Hello students, welcome back. In the chapter Living World, you were introduced into the classification of living organisms into different taxa. You are now familiar with the classification of lineage, which is known as the two-kingdom classification. That means all the animals and plants are categorized into two kingdoms, kingdom Animalia and kingdom Plantae. At first, this two-kingdom classification served the purpose. However, there was some inadequacy. This system could not distinguish between the unicellular and multicellular organisms, eukaryotes and prokaryotes, photosynthetic organisms and non-photosynthetic organisms. A large group of organisms come under these categories. Hence, there was a need to modify the two-kingdom classification. In addition to morphology, it was necessary to consider other factors while categorizing the organisms like cell structure, cell wall nature, nutrition mode, habitat, reproduction methods and evolutionary relationships. R.H. Whittaker proposed a five-kingdom classification, including Monera, Protista, fungi, Plantae and Animalia. He classified organisms based on their cell structure, body organization, nutrition, reproduction, and evolutionary relationships. Let's understand the difference in classification between the earlier classification systems and the five-kingdom classification. Earlier, the bacteria, blue-green algae, and fungi were grouped under the kingdom Plantae as they all possess a cell wall. But they differ in many other characteristics. For example, bacteria and blue-green algae are prokaryotic organisms without a nuclear wall. But plants are eukaryotic with a nuclear wall. How can we study them as a single group? When considering the fungi kingdom, it is worth noting that fungi are heterotrophic, whereas plants are autotrophic. It is therefore incorrect to group fungi under the Plantae kingdom. There is one more thing to mention. While fungi have chitin in their cell walls, plants on the other hand have cellulose. As fungi show too many differences from plants, they are considered under a different kingdom on further classification. Similarly, Chlamydomonas and Spirogyra were grouped together under algae, but Chlamydomonas is unicellular and Spirogyra is multicellular. In the five-kingdom classification, kingdom Monera consists of all prokaryotes. However, all unicellular eukaryotes come under kingdom Protista. Kingdom Protista now brought together Chlamydomonas and Chlorella, which were previously classified under Plantae because they have a cell wall. But as they are unicellular, they now come under Protista. Similarly, Paramecium and Amoeba were previously classified under kingdom Animalia due to their lack of cell wall. However, they are now categorized under Protista as they are unicellular organisms. These changes occurred due to the updates in the classification criteria. Let's explore Whittaker's five-kingdom classification in more detail. Kingdom Monera. Bacteria are the members of this kingdom. They are unicellular organisms and are 0.2 μm in diameter and 2 to 8 μm in length. They can live in extreme habitats like hot springs, deserts and deep oceans. Many of them live inside other organisms as parasites. As per the research, around 39 trillion bacteria are there in an adult human body. Based on their shape, bacteria are divided into four categories. A spherical shaped bacterium is called a coccus. The plural form is cocci. A rod shaped bacterium is called a bacillus. The plural form is bacilli. A comma-shaped bacterium is called a vibrium. The plural form is vibrio. And spiral-shaped bacterium is called a spirillum. The plural form is spirilla. Though they are very simple organisms, They have a wide metabolism diversity. That means they adopt different methods to obtain energy. Kingdom Monera is divided into two, Archaebacteria and Eubacteria. Let's delve into them in detail. Archaebacteria are a group of bacteria that can thrive in severe environments. They are now known as archaea. They are prokaryotes without a well-defined nucleus. Bacteria have peptidoglycan in their cell wall, while Archaebacteria have pseudopeptidoglycan. In addition, Archaebacteria lack lipopolysaccharides, which would cause their cell wall to disintegrate or melt. These features, that is the presence of pseudopeptidoglycan and lack of lipopolysaccharides, make the cell wall of Archaebacteria very tough and they can survive in extreme conditions. There are mainly three types of archaea: halophilic archaea, thermoacidophiles and methanogens. Halophilic archaea thrive in high salt environments including natural brines, alkaline salt lakes, the Dead Sea and marine solar patterns. Thermoacidophiles have developed mechanism to successfully persist in unusually hot and acidic environments. Methanogens are methane producing archaea. They are characterized by their ability to conserve energy by producing methane gas. Methanogenesis is an anaerobic respiration where hydrogen is oxidized into H plus ions and carbon dioxide is reduced into methane. They are present in the gut of several ruminant animals like cows and buffaloes and are responsible for the production of methane from dung of these animals, which is nothing but biogas. Eubacteria are known as true bacteria. They are called true bacteria because they have a rigid cell wall, and if they are motile, they will have a flagellum. They have a wide metabolic diversity. Eubacteria is divided into three based on their metabolic diversity: photosynthetic autotrophic, chemosynthetic autotrophic and heterotrophic. Photosynthetic autotrophs use energy from light to convert water and carbon dioxide into a nutrient called glucose. For example, cyanobacteria or blue-green algae are able to do photosynthesis as they have chlorophyll. They can be colonial or filamentous. Colonial means their cells may look like free-swimming unicells like this if they are colonial. If they are filamentous, the cells of filamentous algae are connected longitudinally like this. They may be freshwater, marine or terrestrial algae. Their colonies are surrounded by a gelatinous sheath and they form blooms in polluted water. A heterocyst is a cell in cyanobacteria or blue-green algae that carries out nitrogen fixation. Examples of bacteria with heterocyst are nostoc and anabena. Chemosynthetic autotrophic. They can synthesize their energy by oxidation of inorganic chemicals like nitrates, nitrites and ammonia and use the released energy to produce ATP. They play a great role in recycling these nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, iron and sulfur. These bacteria oxidize hydrogen sulfide into sulfur. They oxidize hydrogen sulfide into sulfur or sulfates and they also convert ammonia into nitrites and nitrates. Nitrites and nitrates. They oxidize ferrous ion into ferric ions. Heterotrophic. They depend on other organisms or dead organic matter for energy. Hence, they are the decomposers. They help in making curd from milk, production of antibiotics, help in nitrogen fixation in leguminous roots. Some causes diseases in humans and animals. Example of bacterial diseases are cholera, typhoid and tetanus. Bacterial reproduction is mainly by fission, which is an asexual reproduction where one bacterium divides into two and each of the two halves carries one copy of the genetic material. There are ways to transfer the DNA of bacterium into another one, which can be considered as a kind of sexual reproduction. There are different methods for this, but we are considering only two. They are the transformation and conjugation. Transformation is a process through which DNA from a bacterial cell's environment is introduced into the cell. Here you can see the DNA fragments which will enter into the cell and will get incorporated into the DNA of the host. Now conjugation, here there are two bacteria where a portion of DNA of one bacterium is transferred to another through forming a tube between their cells. Here you can see this tube and this DNA is transferred in conjugation. Mycoplasma is another kind of bacterium that completely lacks a cell wall. They are the smallest living cells with a size of 0.2 μm to 0.3 μm. They can survive without oxygen and they can cause diseases in plants and animals. They cause pneumonia and sexually transmitted diseases. Moving on to the kingdom Protista. All unicellular eukaryotes come under this kingdom. They are mostly aquatic. Their cell body contains a well-defined nucleus and membrane-bound organelles. Some have flagella or cilia for locomotion. They can reproduce asexually and sexually by cell fusion and zygote formation. We have 5 groups to study under kingdom Protista. They are Chrysophytes, Dinoflagellates, Euglenoids, slime molds and Protozoans. Chrysophytes include Diatoms and algae, and Protozoans are divided into 4: amoeboid, flagellated and ciliated protozoans and sporozoans. Let's learn them in detail. Chrysophytes. They are a group of algae commonly found in lakes. They are sometimes referred to as golden brown algae due to their coloration resulting from the specific photosynthetic pigments. They are often unicellular and have a flagellum allowing them to be mobile in the water. This group includes diatoms and golden algae. They are microscopic and float in the water currents. Most of them are photosynthetic. Let's learn more about diatoms. The cell wall consists of 2 thin overlapping shells that fit together much like a soap box. These are the 2 halves. During reproduction, typically through cell division, the 2 overlapping shells, they separate with each then secreting a usually small bottom half. Thus, individual diatoms formed from successive bottom portions. Their cell wall is made up of silica, which gives some transparency and durability. As a result, after their death, the cell wall deposits on their habitat, and over billions of years, this accumulation of cell wall forms a sedimentary rock known as diatomaceous earth. This rock can be crushed into powder. This powder has many uses. It contains about 80 to 90% silica and is thought to kill insects by dehydrating them or drying them out. Also, the powder allows liquid to flow through while capturing unwanted materials. Hence used for filtration of oils and syrups. It is also used for polishing purposes. Diatoms are known as the chief producers in the oceans as they grow very rapidly when the nutrients are available. So they can fix a large amount of carbon dioxide by carrying out photosynthesis. Dinoflagellates. They are unicellular aquatic organisms and are photosynthetic. They can be yellow, green, brown or blue depending upon the pigments present in the cells. They have 2 dissimilar flagella. transverse flagellum and longitudinal flagella. Transverse flagellum runs in a furrow between the cell wall plates. Their cell wall has thick cellulose plates. Very often the red dinoflagellates rapidly undergo multiplication and create a phenomenon known as red tide in oceans. But toxins released by such large numbers can kill the fish and marine animals. Euglenoids. They are commonly found in fresh water, especially when it is rich in organic materials. Euglenoids are distinguished mainly by the presence of a type of cell covering called a pellicle. The pellicle is composed of proteinaceous strips underneath the cell membrane. This makes their body flexible. They have two flagellae, one short and one long. They are photosynthetic in the presence of sunlight. However, in the absence of sunlight, they become heterotrophic by feeding on small organisms. Like in higher plants, they have chlorophyll A and B pigments. Slime molds. Decaying logs, twigs and leaves on the forest floor often bear slimy orange, yellow or white masses. These masses called slime molds. They are saprophytes. Their body moves along the decaying twigs and leaves and engulfs the organic matter. Their life cycle begins with a spore. Under suitable conditions, the fertilized cell undergoes repeated division and they form an aggregation. This aggregation can grow up to several feet and is called a plasmodium. During unfavorable conditions, this plasmodium differentiates and forms fructifying bodies bearing spores at their tips. These spores can withstand extreme consequences and can survive for many years. The spores are dispersed by air currents. Now let's learn about protozoans. They are single cell heterotrophs, meaning they live as predators or as parasites. They are eukaryotes and hence have a true membrane-bound nucleus. Protozoans are motile. Nearly all possess flagella, cilia or pseudopodia that allow them to navigate their aqueous habitats. There are mainly four groups in the protozoans: amoeboid protozoans, flagellated protozoans, ciliated protozoans and sporozoans. Amoeboid protozoans are mainly found in aquatic and moist environments. Amoeboid protozoans resemble amoeba due to the presence of pseudopodia in it. We know that this is known as the pseudopodia. Amoeboid protozoans are a type of unicellular microorganisms that have the ability to change its shape by extending and retracting the pseudopods. Amoeboids move and capture their prey by putting out pseudopodia, which are also known as to be their false feet, as in amoeba. Marine forms have silica on their cell surface. Example, Pelomyxa and Entamoeba. Entamoeba causes amoebic dysentery. Flagellated protozoans possess at some time in their life cycle one to many flagella for locomotion and sensation. The members of these groups may be free-living or parasitic. Example, trypanosoma that causes sleeping sickness. This sleeping sickness manifests neurological and psychiatric symptoms such as confusion, lethargy and convulsions. Ciliated protozoans. They are characterized by the presence of hair-like organelles called cilia, which are identical in structure to the eukaryotic flagella but are in general shorter and present in much larger numbers. They have a cavity that opens to outside of the cell surface. They move through water while allowing the food particles to enter through the gullet. Example is Paramecium. Sporozoans are organisms that have a spore stage in their life cycle. Unlike the crawling movement of amoeba, sporozoans are characterized by a gliding movement where the shape of the cell won't change. Example, Plasmodium that causes malaria. We will continue with the kingdom fungi and plantae in another video. If you like this video, please share it with your friends. If you have any queries, put it in the comment box. Thank you.